Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Counterpoint podcast. My name is Maurice, and I'll be your host again for this episode. And today we've got a really cool episode lined up. We're going to be talking about mobile gaming. And I think mobile gaming has come a long way, from when we had that really popular Snake game on the Nokia phones, if you can remember that, and moving forward to 2D games on color screens to even now having 3D gaming on smartphones. Um, with that evolution, naturally, there are different types of smartphones or even cell phones that we had, from the Nokia N-Gage with Symbian to Sony Xperia Play for the early Android days. And now we have this new breed of gaming smartphones from different providers such as Razer, Asus, and a lot of other Chinese brands. And for today's topic, I have a very special guest with us today. His name is Dinesh Sharma. He's the business head for both commercial PC and smartphone for Asus India. Hey Dinesh, how's it going?
Hi, Morris. Thanks. It's going very well. And thanks for having me on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for being with us. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about all the gaming needs. I know that you spent, a lot of years in your industry um, with Asus and within the mobile industry. So I know you have a breadth of knowledge that you can share with us today.
Yeah, I will be happy to do so.
Great. So, we have seen that there are over 2 billion gamers in the world, and this equates to spending for almost $150 billion or more in games. So tell me a little bit more about this. So what makes smartphone gaming so different, and where are we heading with this?
See, the way smartphone capabilities are growing in terms of graphic processing power, and also the way the networks have progressed. We already have 4G, which is now ubiquitous, and now we'll be moving to 5G as well. Uh, Smartphone gaming is going to boom much more in the coming periods. In fact, whatever industry estimates that we understand, it almost contributes to 50% of the global gaming business revenue right now. And the CAGR, which is expected on smartphone gaming, is much higher as compared to overall gaming. So we expect by 2023 the market size for smartphone gaming alone to exceed $100 billion, and it's a very big opportunity. So, at least from markets like India perspective, which are developing markets, uh, smartphone is far more ubiquitously available with consumers, and the consumers have really, accept their first entry into even AAA titles is generally through a smartphone rather than PC gaming in India, and that makes the market opportunity quite big and quite attractive from an overall scale perspective. Because when you look at the population of countries like China, India, and the other developing markets in Asia Pacific, you would realize that the population scale is pretty big, and smartphone gaming out here in these countries is pretty big as compared to some of the Western countries. So it's a very, very big and growing opportunity.
Yeah, actually, can you give us a little bit more insight as well on how COVID has been affecting the situation? Are people, gaming more? Have their habits changed? Any insights that you can give on that?
So whatever studies we have seen in India, a lot of game developers have actually published their statistics. It's clearly evident that during the lockdown period, which happened in India, people were at home, and there was no way you could go and socialize with your friends. And smartphone gaming has come a long way, right? Earlier, the kind of phones that you spoke about in your opening earlier, those were the phones where you would play a game which was probably pre-installed, or you could download a simple game, and then it was you and the game itself. And then pretty much once you knew the steps, it was pretty repetitive, and you could master it quite easily. Today, the gaming environment is pretty different, right? It's multiplayer, it's online, it's unpredictable. You are in an arena, and it's very, very. It's not just the knowledge of the game that matters, but it's your skill set actually that matters when you play the game. And Also, when you're playing with your friends, you can team up, and you can play against rival teams. You could create your own custom rooms and have multiple larger community members engaging on the same platform. So it's a great medium to connect with your friends in a way socially. And then instead of like we used to play earlier, any kind of an offline sport like cricket or football, but right now the youth, they love to engage on mobile gaming, and that's creating a very interesting social phenomena, which is further fueling the growth of mobile gaming. And during the lockdown, therefore, the numbers for from most of the gaming developers have been very, very awesome in terms of the pickup they've had, in terms of new installed base, in terms of engagement rate that they have with their existing installed base. It's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to see that. I think it's becoming, as you said, for a lot of us, it's a communication tool, really, and it's a way for us to socialize in these times. And I know you spoke a little bit about the India perspective. Here in the U.S., we've also seen, from the carrier side, a lot of statistics saying that. Gaming has been up, streaming has been up. All these factors really help us stay more connected in these times. And so I wanted to switch topics a little bit here. Um, Asus, of course, has the ROG Phone 3 out right now, and in terms of specs, a lot of these gaming phones that we have on the market have similar amounts of RAM, storage capacities, connectivity options, even that are comparable or even sometimes better than flagship phones. I know that the gaming phones in particular, had a lot of emphasis in pushing the first high refresh rate screens. So what can you tell me exactly what differentiates a gaming phone from a regular flagship phone?
Yeah, that's a great question, Morris. If you look at the ROG phone, for example, and just take it as one of the examples for a gaming smartphone, a gaming flagship rather, it differentiates from a standard smartphone in multiple areas, even as far as hardware is concerned. So, first of all, if you talk about the chipset itself, ROG phone series has been using the advanced version of Snapdragon flagship chipset. So we always use the plus version. Plus, then, the second important part is that when we talk about performance, a typical smartphone would build in the flagship chipset, but it's not designed to sustain peak performance on the flagship chipset for a longer duration. Whereas a gaming phone has to sustain the peak performance for longer duration to ensure that there are no frame drops, lags, or any kind of poor experience when you are actually playing a AAA title. So there is advanced cooling, which is built in with multiple layers of like cooling related hardware. Like we've got a very large copper vapor chamber, we've got graphite sheets, we've got heat sink, we've got a vent, then we've got a cooling accessory in form of a fan. Now all this ensures that the performance of the CPU can be actually sustained for a longer period of time, and the whole phone is designed for very efficient heat dissipation. The other important aspect is that when it comes to gaming, uh, refresh rate is one part of it. Okay, definitely on the display, it's something that most of the people probably understand very easily in terms of a number being higher than the other smartphone. But there are other important aspects. So when you look at the ROG phone, it has not only the fastest refresh rate, but it also has a very, very fast touch response time. In fact, it's got the fastest touch response time in the world. So it's a 25 millisecond touch response time. So when you're actually playing a game, uh, and the kind of environment that we spoke about earlier, which is like competitive, your online multiplayer scenario, and it's competitive, it's real time, your responsiveness really matters to whether you're going to live or you're going to die in the game or you're going to win or lose it. And that's where your touch responsiveness really matters, and your slide latency really matters. So these things are built in very specifically on the product. Then obviously from a display perspective, again, it's got like very high HDR 10-bit AMOLED display that ensures very good contrast ratios and capability to see in dark areas much more efficiently when you're playing the game. It also not only it uses the fastest processor, but gaming smartphones in general are built for speed. So the ROG Phone 3 not only takes care of the fastest processor, but we also ensure that we build in always the fastest available memory. So it comes with a combination of LPDDR5 and UFS 3.1, which again ensures very high speed, right, and performance. There are many design thinking related aspects, like for example the ROG phone comes with dual charging ports. You don't get that in your standard smartphones. Your standard smartphones come just with one charging port, because when you're gaming in the horizontal mode, you don't want your charger intruding onto your right or your left hand. It comes also with a massive 6000 mAh battery, so that you can have very very long hours of gameplay independent of charging as well. uh, Again, what we uniquely build on the ROG phone is the air triggers, and these are ultrasonic air triggers, and they can they really give you that console kind of a gaming experience. Because so let's take an example of playing, let's say Call of Duty or PUBG. You're using your right thumb for basically like orienting your direction where you want to actually look or move in, right, or aim at, and you're using your left thumb, okay, for moving around in the game, forward, backward, sideways, etc. And then you have a host of other functions like the firing key, the key to actually crouch, etc. And all those keys, just with your two thumbs, then you're actually like kind of skipping one or the other function at a point of time, and that impacts your gameplay. But with the ROG phone, because we've got air triggers and now we can even further split them, I don't want to get into the complicated part of it. But the simplest point is that you can use two air triggers and two thumbs. So you can use two index fingers now and two thumbs. So from suddenly two fingers, you're going up to four fingers being used simultaneously. Okay, so you can, for example, map your uh, trigger function on the right index finger. You could map your scope function on the left index finger, and now suddenly you can aim, you can move, you can start the scope simultaneously and shoot, which takes your skill set level in the game and your competitiveness to completely new level. And again, you've got great audio. We built in very, very good quality seven magnet speakers. And this is very important in gaming, because when you're, let's say, playing a first player shooter game, for example, uh, you need to know from which direction your enemy is moving into onto you. So if, let's say, your enemies are coming from the right, you should be able to figure out, oh yeah, these guys are coming from the right, or the sound is actually coming from the left. And you need very good stereo effect coming from the audio. And so it's not only hardware but also software, which plays a very very important role out there. Now all these things are not typically looked at by your standard flagship smartphone manufacturer. They don't get into this level of detailing and design thinking from a gamer perspective, which you have built into the gaming phone. And a combination of this is what differentiates it. And not to limit it to the product itself, but then there is software which helps you to customize at game level how multiple hardware capabilities should work for that specific game. And then we created a whole host of accessory ecosystem, which again is unique and is forward and backward compatible to different generations, to ensure that you get a superlative level of gaming experience when you actually use this particular product.
Right, and I think this is all to say for the people. When we look at a gaming phone, right? We don't immediately see what the differentiation is, but if you look at it, on this very much detailed level, there are actually a lot of differences that make a lot of impact for gamers and when they play. I remember just back when I was in my PC Counter Strike days, being able to hear footsteps just by having headphones on that are able to give me the most accurate way of hearing where my enemies are coming from is so important. And translating that into a handheld format, makes a lot of a difference. But actually, before we go on, I wanted to touch on one more thing briefly that you mentioned, which I think is interesting. We have seen high refresh rates in gaming phones. They're the first ones that have had high refresh rate screens, right? Um, and now with the ROG phone and the Air triggers, we are sort of seeing that also coming into other flagship devices. So, recently seeing Apple and having the double tap feature on the back of their phone, while maybe the mechanism isn't the same. It's the same idea, having a different way, tactile way to use your phone and respond to it. So to me, it's very interesting seeing how some of these advanced features in gaming trickle down into flagship devices. Um, any comment on that? How do you see that?
Yes, I kind of agree, because gaming pushes the tech to a completely new level. To meet to give you the same kind of experience which you have, let's say, for example, on a advanced console, okay, on a smartphone, okay, is far more tougher. Like for example, the audio aspect that we were talking about, right to left. Now, when you're wearing the headset, it's a very customized device, right? I mean, like both your ears are having one speaker pointing towards it. But when you're using a smartphone without a headset, and to create that on two speakers which are small and they're just 6 inches apart, requires different kind of tech innovation to enable to do it. And we use something which is called as crosstalk cancellation, for example, as a technology out there to enable that to happen in real life for you when you're using the product. So yes, it's kind of pushing uh, technology and innovation on certain aspects of the smartphone uh, to a completely new level, and that definitely would probably make sense to trickle down to other smartphones as well, though they may not be gaming smartphones.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Gaming phones to me are always an area for innovation to look forward to, kind of see what the future can hold for potential flagships, because certainly some things will begin trickling down. Um, and staying on this topic of these advanced features, we've seen full HD, 4K, and even 8K resolution TVs now in the market, but there's a lack of content for these devices. And similarly with 120 hertz and even 144 hertz displays, there's not a lot of games right now that can actually utilize that high refresh rate. So games like Fortnite can only support 90 FPS. PUBG, Asphalt 9 Legend support 60 FPS. What kind of difference can people notice in games, maybe like with Fortnite, for example, that runs on 90 FPS on 144 hertz screen?
See, when you're actually designing a flagship series, especially ROG phones, we design it A for the best possible experience, and B, we also try to make it future proof because flagship is a big investment for any consumer. And therefore, you don't want technology which is available in your flagship to get outdated very fast. See, there are currently about 200 plus games that support 144 hertz refresh rate, and we have a full list and we keep on updating it as more and more games get added to it. Uh, Further, you know that developers, especially with AAA titles, they are actually constantly pushing they're constantly upgrading their games to support higher refresh rates. Like sometime back, PUBG and Fortnite used to just support 60 hertz, right? Now they support 90, and I'm sure that they're already thinking about upgrading it to 120. So when you're buying a flagship gaming smartphone, you don't want it to get outdated if the game developer then suddenly decides to then increase the refresh rate. And you can see what is happening in the market right now, right? The installed base, for example, currently of 120 hertz flagship smartphones is going up drastically because this year, while we moved to 144, or a lot of other flagship smartphones have actually moved up to 120 hertz. So the game developers, from a game developer's perspective, they are seeing now, oh, the installed base of smartphones will support 120 hertz, and especially the high ARPU customers for them, it's actually growing, and therefore they need to now upgrade their games from 90 to 120, and they'll do it in a short while because clearly a higher refresh rate improves the gaming experience drastically on a smartphone. So when we are actually looking at building these capabilities, we're not only just looking at it from what is currently available, but we also know that we need to be a step ahead from the current benchmarks, because the game developers would ultimately get there very shortly. They'll soon follow. So it's a chicken and the egg story. So we are kind of leading the path out there. Uh, Also, again, as I said earlier, also it's not just the refresh rate which should be looked at. When you're looking at displays in a gaming smartphone, you need to also look at their responsiveness. You have to look at their HDR capability and many other aspects, delta E values, which make a lot of difference apart from just the refresh rate.
Those are really interesting points. Just in parallel too, I think that point of differentiation and that point of being at the forefront is something that a lot of consumers look out for in a smartphone, because they don't want to buy a device that'll be outdated in 6 months or in a year. And with people holding onto their smartphones for longer and longer, it makes complete sense to have this you know full set of features that will last a gamer for a very long time. Um, and to this point, actually, Qualcomm, the chipset maker that you're using as well for your ROG phone, they have a thing called, or they introduced Elite Gaming to their flagship chipset. And can you tell us a little bit more about how this enhances the ROG Phone 3 and how that plays into the development of your phone?
So chipset capabilities also do matter. What I can just give you is a holistic perspective of what Elite Gaming aims to do. Uh, so Elite Gaming adds gaming-specific feature enhancements on the Snapdragon chipset, such as Game Smoother, support for true 10-bit HDR. They've got something called as Adorno, HDR Fast Blend, desktop forward rendering, etc., which helps enhance the gaming experience on the gaming smartphone. So it is a set of enablement, a new enablers, that come to the chipset capability, which can be leveraged by uh, smartphone manufacturers to enable some of those kind of capabilities on the smartphone for better gaming experience.
Mhm. And with this hardware development, we also have software developers or game developers, right, who need to match the capabilities that a phone has. So, what role do these game developers have in ensuring that they create the best experiences? Do they work with you to develop a phone? Do they, what is the process, or how do they fit into all this?
That's a very good point as well. Yeah, so as smartphone manufacturers, we have to work upon providing a combination of hardware, software, and accessory ecosystem, that is best suitable for gaming. But at the same time, we are also working with the game developer ecosystem. For example, with ROG, we've got partnership with Unity Engine. Unity is one of the most widely used engines by game developers, and we've got our specific, unique hardware-related APIs which are plugged in, which game developers can actually make use of and have out-of-the-box superior gaming experience, making full use of ROG's hardware capabilities right at the go when the consumer installs that specific game on the ROG phone. Same way, we also work with a lot of game developers to customize their games for making full use of the capabilities of ROG Phone 3. For example, Asphalt has certain capabilities in ROG Phone 3 which you will not find it in other phones. Similarly, many other games have such kind of capabilities. And I think from a game developer's perspective, also it's great that phones like ROG Phone 3 are actually growing quite a lot at this point of time because it brings in some really amazing capabilities in the hands of consumers, which they can actually leverage and keep up pace with this impressive hardware development which is happening on the smartphone side to actually improvise their gaming experience even further for the consumers. And I think that is something which is going on, at the back end, and it's very favorable for the customers.
So switching gears a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about 5G and Wi-Fi 6 and these new ways that we connect to the world. These new faster and improved ways over LTE connections or over older Wi-Fi connections. The ROG Phone 3 supports both sub 6 gigahertz 5G and Wi-Fi 6, making it a really fast device in terms of connectivity and low latency applications. And of course, now we have cloud gaming. Google Stadia is here, Microsoft Project X Cloud, and even the new Amazon Luna are all out. Um, and for the people that don't know, cloud gaming is really this concept of you being able to stream the game onto your screen, your smartphone or your laptop or even your TV, so you're able to play on the go without the necessity of actually having any type of advanced hardware to run it, because everything is run on external servers in the cloud and just put back onto or displayed on your screen. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about how you see cloud gaming change the landscape for phones and for gaming phones?
I think in our perspective, cloud gaming is essentially going to be really, really good for the gaming smartphone ecosystem because now, you don't need to be tied down to your living room or to your TV to experience some of the AAA titles which can be experienced on those devices right now with consoles. But you will have all these games playable on a smartphone, and wherever you are, you can play them. Correct. Now, if you look at it from our perspective, in any case, we've designed ROG Phone 3, and I told you a lot of console level gaming thought process has gone into it with the air triggers coming in, for example. Uh, so now you can actually experience console like games on the go from wherever you are, okay, on your smartphone with cloud gaming. And, we've already got partnership with Stadia, and ROG Phone 3 already supports Stadia out of the box. Plus, what we've done is that we've also ensured that the phone is compatible with multiple controllers like Xbox or your PlayStation as well as Stadia. And we've got this new cool accessory called ROG Clip, which you can just mount the phone on these controllers, and there's automatic key mapping, and you can play the games. Plus, apart from that, the unique aspects that we've actually built for gaming in the ROG smartphone really will make your experience of cloud gaming completely different when you play on an ROG phone compared to, let's say, if you were to play it on a standard smartphone, because the kind of audio that we were talking about, the kind of HDR10 plus AMOLED display, which is designed for superior gaming, and then the accessory ecosystem, the great battery, because your cloud gaming is going to consume both a lot of data as well as battery, right? And you need that capability to be there on that smartphone to be able to manage that. So therefore, all those kind of capabilities are there in the phone, and we've got also something called as hyperfusion network technology, which in the scenario your data networks on both Wi-Fi as well as if let's say cellular are performing at poor levels, then the phone can actually merge the two networks and enhance the bandwidth which is available for better data connectivity. So these kind of capabilities would actually make cloud gaming best suitable on a gaming smartphone. So therefore, when cloud gaming is going to come in, this is the kind of smartphone that you really need to kind of experience the cloud gaming in a much better manner on your smartphone.
And before we wrap up, I had one more question, and you've touched upon this a little bit throughout our conversation that we had. You know, ROG phones always have had some really cool add-on accessories, even with the first ROG phone that came out. And now, a handful of other OEMs have had some more accessories as well. How do how do these things really elevate the gaming experience? Um, and how do you think that'll kind of develop in the future?
Yeah, so we've got some important and well thought out gaming accessories, and we also ensure that they are compatible for future generations as well as past generations. So I'll just give you a very quick run through of the accessories that they have and what purpose do they serve. So firstly, we've got an aeroactive cooler fan, which ensures, as I said earlier, further cooling, and that helps us to push the limits of the processor even further. In fact, with ROG Phone 3, we have an enhanced X mode, that is a level 3 performance boost mode when the aeroactive cooler is used. Then we've got a wonderful new addition this year, which is called the ROG Clip, which enables mounting the phone on your existing PlayStation, Xbox, or Stadia controller, and then you can use your existing controller to play games on the smartphone. We've also got a cool accessory called Twin View Dock, which enables twin display gaming. For example, when you play Asphalt 9, you can have the main game on, let's say, the top screen, and then on the bottom screen, you'll have the controllers as well as the map coming in. So you have a completely new level of gaming experience again. Plus, then you've got a Kunai gamepad modular controller, which has a handheld mode, which is similar to which gives you an experience like a PSP. So your phone is in your hand, plus you've got your joystick and other controllers on both the sides of it, and it's completely mobile. It's in your hand, with the entire unit together, transformed into that PSP kind of a unit. Plus, you can actually take this entire thing, which is the Kunai gamepad controller, in the handheld mode and mount it on the twin view display. So now you've got a unit which can actually have the controllers, and you've got two displays available to you for gaming, which enhances your gaming performance to experience to a completely new level. Uh, and a lot of these accessories that I just spoke about are kind of usable on both ROG Phone 2 and ROG Phone 3. And then we've got some unique accessories like specialized covers which are designed specifically for the ROG phone. So we've got an aero case, and then we've got lightning armor case, which is also pretty cool and help you like really stand out and differentiate from the rest of the smartphones in the market. Uh, so yeah, I mean, like, therefore, we've not just taken care of gaming from a perspective of just the smartphone, but we've kind of taken care of it from a complete ecosystem that you need for some amazing gaming level experience. And yeah, I forgot to mention, we've also got two docks, the desktop dock and the professional dock, which also enable you to connect your phone. If you're a PC gamer and you love playing on the keyboard and the mouse, you can actually just mount your phone and then play games with the keyboard and the mouse seamlessly on a display. And even with the desktop dock, you can connect it to maybe a 5.1 channel audio system as well if you want to, and experience really different level of gaming.
All those products sound amazing. Actually, some of them I didn't even realize are on the market yet, which is just really a testament to how much thinking you guys are doing around accessories and around how to enhance the mobile gaming experience for a lot of your consumers. And yeah, I'd like to thank you again for coming on the show, Dinesh, and talking with us a little bit about the mobile gaming market, and especially also the ROG Phone 3. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Morris. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate the conversation. And thanks to all the listeners who've been listening to this podcast. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And like Dinesh said, thanks for listening, everyone. As always, you can find us on counterpointresearch.com. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, and other streaming podcast providers. If you want to know more about the ROG Phone 3, we have a review up on our website. It'll be linked down below. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, take care.